Hello there, shipmates, and welcome to Dark Natter, the podcast where we chop up your favourite works of dark fiction into tiny digestible morsels. Yar!
It's International Talk Like a Pirate Day, where on the day of recording, so I thought I would talk like a pirate. How do you feel about
that? Yeah, that was good.
Good opening laugh. It wasn't very pirate-like.
What, my laugh?
Yeah, it was just...
Well, what is a pirate laugh?
Well, you show me. It's your job. The laugh's your job. It's actually pretty good. Do a Captain Birdseye.
Birdie.
It's overload of catchphrases. And
Captain Birdseye, what did he used to say?
You found my gold. Tuck in.
But he wasn't a pirate, was he? He was just
no, he was the opposite.
Looks a bit like Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Although now there's like a young, buff one.
No,
Have you seen
I think
that?
that was a while ago and they got rid of him and got the old one back again.
Really?
Yeah, there was a young buff Birdseye.
No.
I remember that.
Because at work we recently got sent some sort of
promotional material
poster or something. Yeah.
Of the young buff one.
It's still a young buff one.
Before we go any further down this admittedly very entertaining sideline, we should probably explain to everyone who we are and what we're here to do. I think on our last episode we forgot to introduce ourselves, so people listening to it would have gone for a whole hour not having a clue whose dulcet tones they were enjoying. So I will introduce you, if that's all right.
Yeah.
You are Liam Martin, exceptional journalist, loyal friend, dark fiction enthusiast, and vicious killer.
And you are John Richter.
I am.
Bit of a twat.
Thank you.
An author of dark and macabre. I don't know if that's part of dark. An author of dark fiction, a published author of dark fiction. Who better to discuss to natter about dark material than you?
And admittedly, much better dark material than mine, or much more famous. More famous, anyway.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I love that.
Thanks for the pep. You've really picked me up there.
Yeah,
that's good. Right. Been a tough day.
Now walk the plank, me hearty.
With your piece. Oh my god, I've got no punchline. You know when you embark on a thing and you've got no punchline. I've just covered it up with this bit of observational humour.
Yeah.
Yarr! That was a good day. I think I covered that up.
Now, have we... Right, what is it? What
were you for?
Do? Yeah.
This is Dark Natter. As you know, the show where we analyse, deep dive, hack open and examine works of dark fiction, whether they're in literary form, movie, cinematic works, video games, and musicals.
Well, I was going to say, we're actually doing something slightly different today, aren't we?
That is correct. A cross-media phenomenon.
So, what's the deal then?
I'm going to pitch... It's my turn, because we have settled into this alternate rhythm, which seems to work quite well. Alternate universe. Yeah. Where I'll be pitching to you my proposed entry, the latest entrant, hopefully, into the Hall of Pain.
And based on your pitch, I will be the gatekeeper.
The creepy custodian.
Yes.
I did that. I've put that in the episode description because it's alliterative, so I thought people would like it. Do you like being a creepy custodian?
I've been called worse. And I'll decide, based on your pitch, whether the thing we're talking about today deserves a spot in the hallowed Hall of Pain. And let's be honest, it's not hard to get in there. Literally everyone we've...
100% record.
Yeah,
but I think that's testament not to the low quality of custodiansmanship, but to the high quality of the offerings that have been brought.
The sacrificial offerings.
That have been lobbed onto the altar, squealing and bleeding and... writhing. And...
Yeah, you're enjoying this a bit.
I'm sorry, I got carried away. Don't worry. Maybe we'll mix it up a bit today because the one I'm bringing is arguably a bit ropey.
I agree.
Not to shoot myself in the foot.
I agree. This is a tough sell, I think, as far as what we've talked about so far. This is the toughest sell. That's because we're running out of material, but no,
it's too soon. It's too soon. We got loads. We got a lot left in the tank. But I guess that's partly my motivation, right? I don't just want us to talk about all the usual shite. So if we covered all the dark fiction horror staples in our early episodes, I feel like a lot of them have been done to death. So I wanted to bring something a bit new, a bit modern, a bit trendy.
A bloody death.
A gory demise.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring something that's a bit internet millennial friendly. Because I mean, we are two young men. as
technically millennial, though I am.
Is that 'cause
1982 apparently is the cut-off, and I was born 1982. So.
I heard it was 80 the cut-off, so I'm well into the millennial bracket. Yeah. What are they called now? Young people now. They're past millennials, aren't they? There's something else.
Neo-millennial, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That'll catch on that. We're doing Slenderman today.
Oh.
The Slenderman.
The Slenderman.
And it's difficult to say exactly what he is, really. He's appeared in video game form. He's appeared in movie, cinematic form. He's appeared in lots of online literature. He's appeared as a cameo in Minecraft.
Yes.
He has appeared in countless prank videos in YouTube, jump scare shenanigans, and I once dressed up as him on a night out, which basically involved putting a white morph suit on and creepy arm extensions.
Okay.
And no one would speak to me all night, so I had to...
What's new?
Way! It's true, though.
Yeah.
True.
I'm sorry.
So, I'll get straight to it. I'll explain, first of all, who the Slenderman was.
Yeah. Please do that.
Slenderman is, I guess, you might call him a meme. He is a fictional character that is known as a creepypasta. So a creepypasta website is a website where people congregate to discuss, create, innovate horror stories, legends, modern kind of takes on old tropes, invent new horror stuff, which I guess is very similar to what would have happened back in the day when Mary Shelley was sat there coming up with Frankenstein.
Yeah.
If she'd have had access to a creepypasta website, she'd have been right on there, wouldn't she?
I actually thought you said creepypasta at first. I didn't know he was part of the clergy, but
well, he is a creepypasta.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what he does in his spare time. We only know about him at work, and his work is hanging about in the woods, wearing a business suit, with his faceless blank face and his long, slender, spindly body, enticing children into the forest to make them disappear, which is pretty sinister shit, right? That's pretty horrible. But there is something compelling about this idea that really caught on and became a viral meme.
And that's the thing about the Slenderman. It's very of its time, isn't it? This was born on the internet. And it, like you said, it went viral via the internet.
And we should give credit to his inventor, a fella called Eric Knudsen, apparently also known as Victor Surge, who first coughed him up onto this particular forum in 2009, so 10 years old.
10 years, wow.
He is a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless head and face wearing a black suit.
Same age as most of his victims. I don't know what's going on today.
Yeah, maybe we never thought about it that way. Maybe, we don't know how old he is. Maybe he's just trying to be friendly.
Possibly.
But I guess that the bit... So, the reason I think... One of the things I think makes Slenderman interesting is the suit. I'll tell you why it's the suit.
Right,
it's because if he's just a monster who lives in the woods, it's a tired old trope. It's very old-fashioned.
Yes.
The idea of living in the woods is inherently old-fashioned because we've all moved into cities that we've built synthetic constructs. The woods is natural, nature, witchy, witchcraft. And yet wearing a business suit and tie is a complete juxtaposition of that.
Yeah.
So it immediately raises a question, a kind of interesting little mini mystery of, what is this creepy individual doing in the woods, lurking in the distance, when he looks like he should be in the office?
Yeah, I suppose I've never really thought about the suit before, but yeah, that is an interesting one, because it has got its roots in folklore, hasn't it? Because that was the thing hundreds of years ago. These kind of stories were often used to kind of scare children, to warn children, and so this has that, but business suit,
like a modern take. It feels like a modern take on an old folklore trope. Yes, I agree with that. And I think some of the other, we'll get on to how he has manifested, but some of because he's been, birthed by the internet, which in itself I find quite compelling. He's a modern day boogeyman that has been spawned online. It's almost like a glitch in the internet. It's kind of puked out this unpleasant monster. I find that quite a compelling idea. And because, well, let's cover off what are his characteristics. We've covered the suit. We've covered, obviously, he is slender and
long arms.
He has his face is blank, as if he's wearing a morph suit. He distorts electronic equipment. So if you have a camera near him, a mobile phone, a lot of the incarnations of him in video format show that the video itself becomes corrupted by being exposed to him. So again, a modern technology-based kind of take on an old trope. Another aspect is that he's often glimpsed in the distance, just standing there still and watching. It's almost like a messed up version of Where's Wally, although not a very good Where's Wally, because there's only one bloke.
He stands out, actually.
A really piss-easy Where's Wally. So
although nobody sees him until they see the photograph. Is that right?
Well, I think that element was introduced in the movie.
Right.
So I think it's more that when you see some of the Slenderman, in effect, all it is a collection of fan fiction.
Yeah.
Videos and whatnot. A lot of these are freely available on YouTube. Will come onto some
and just photographs with
pictures, with little stories and captions. That's how he kind of came to be. But a lot of the videos start certainly with this people doing some innocuous thing, whether they're making a video in the woods or all that kind of stuff, and the Slenderman is just in the distant background watching them from afar, and you as the viewer might not even notice him at first, but you eventually will, and that gives a really creepy kind of element, and that then speaks to kind of surveillance and distant corporate surveillance, invasion of privacy. We're in a world now where Google is trying to capture all of our data and track our every movement so it can sell shit to us more effectively. And maybe it just felt like he was the personification of all that paranoia.
Yeah.
Or at least that's I'm trying to put my finger on what makes him compelling rather than just one of those general crap internet silly passing crazes, because he has, I wouldn't say stood the test of time, because I think he has peaked now and he's on the way out.
I agree with that.
But there was a good 8-year period where the Slenderman was a thing in popular culture. Totally. We've had movies, we've had video games, we've had
which we'll talk about later. But
tragically, a real life attempted murder, which we will touch on later, which is pretty dark and unpleasant. So we've talked about what Slenderman is. And it's pretty sketchy on details, right?
Well,
That's it. Bloke in a suit, lives in the woods, creepy, stands there watching you, messes with electronic equipment. The only other thing is probably that sometimes he's depicted with tentacles protruding from his back.
Yeah.
As a kind of additional, these only pop up when they're needed.
Yes, yeah. But I think that's the thing, that you said it's a bit sketchy, and that's because it's kind of been gifted to the world to kind of fill in the blanks. So it's, like I said, fan fiction. So people are coming up with their own takes on it. So it's sort of birthed its own, mythos. And that's what makes it fascinating, the fact that you or I could contribute to this.
Yeah.
We could contribute to this whole... And that's another reason why it's compelling, because it's yours. You could own a piece of this by writing some fiction, by photoshopping something and sharing it with other members of the community.
The Photoshop aspect is an important one, because I think a lot of... So we covered the Blair Witch Project recently on our recent episode, and we talked there about how the incredibly effective viral marketing campaign led a lot of people to believe it was to some extent real footage of real missing children in the woods, ironically in the woods, so a similar theme in some ways. And I think the Slenderman had a very similar approach where there are fake documentaries available again on YouTube that will make you believe that he's appeared throughout history in various, medieval etchings or whatever, and old photographs. And so there are some really good, clever, modified photographs of there's children in a playground. It's a black and white picture from the 70s or whatever, and there's this figure just in the background lurking, and it looks credible, it looks believable. So I think it just helped to add to this plausible character, and certainly a generation of youngsters who were accessing these sites and sharing all these stories. I think there probably would have been a genuine not all of them would have realised that it was bullshit.
Certainly there's probably an element of parents and whatnot also not knowing whether it's real or not because they don't understand
any of this. So all they do is they suddenly know that their kid and their kid's mates are on about the Slender Man. They don't really know what the Slender Man is.
And then they might go online and see these convincing, photoshops and accounts and maybe not realise that it's part of a, mass work of fiction.
And in effect, it's taken on a life of its own at this point.
Yeah.
It's no longer...
It's become folklore.
Yeah, it's no longer just Eric Knudson's daft idea. Well, good daft idea. Particularly
hang on, you're pitching here.
Well, and the name as well, the Slender Man. Yeah. That is a great name. So good on you, Eric. I reckon, to me, that's a... Damn it! I wish I'd thought of that. That's a cool name for a bad guy. So it exists. What then happens to this IP, in effect? Or maybe it's not an IP, because that's an intellectual property, but it's, in effect, no one's property. I wonder if Eric Knudson has made any money out of this.
No, that's interesting.
I wish I'd Googled that before we started recording. We'll never know.
We'll have to get him on. He won't talk to us.
If only Eric Knudson were here, he'd tell you what adventures he's had.
So, video games is one of the early manifestations of this craze. Slender, the 8 Pages, is one that was a big hit. I think PC. I'm not sure you can get it on any other format other than PC games. And this, I'm not sure how early in the sort of survival horror where you were a powerless protagonist this game came, but it certainly was a key part of that whole fad. Let's call it a fad. I'm not sure if that's died out yet, or we're still at its peak. But games like Outlast,
they definitely the new Blair Witch game.
Yes, of course.
There are a lot of these games have added other elements just to kind of differentiate them from other games. But essentially the whole walking sim horror style, hide in a closet is
Alien
still a
Isolation,
thing.
As we touched on recently.
Christ, don't remind me about
God,
that.
we were so bad at that game. We were so bad. So games that cast you in the role of a literally helpless protagonist, and all you can do is walk, run, hide, cower, while you try desperately to avoid this terrifying, almost omnipotent being that is pursuing you, hunting you. Slender, the 8 Pages, was an early example of this. So you were in the woods. Your goal was to try and find 8 pages that had been affixed to trees or abandoned outhouses in the forest. But all the while you're creeping around in the dark trying to achieve this goal, the Slender Man might pop up at any moment on the periphery of your vision, or behind you perhaps. You might suddenly see the glitching out of your screen. So your HUD would the display would crackle and distort, and you know that heralded his arrival, and you would panic, and panic would set in, and you start to run, and then before you know, you've blundered straight into him and you've died. And there was that whole YouTube craze for people producing those videos where they were screaming in terror, and a load of them are kind of bullshit and over the top and silly, but there was something there about a genuinely viral game. Very cheaply made, very low budget, but people liked it, people bought it, downloaded it, people were talking about it.
Yeah, and I think it was an effective game. What was the other game in the...
Well, after Slender, the 8 Pages, there was a sort of a bigger budget outing, which I got on my PS4, called Slender The Arrival.
Yes.
Which I thought was ace. I really enjoyed it. It had genuinely scary scares, fleeting glimpses of the monster that was pursuing you through the game. A really good bit where you went into some underground, really narrow corridor bunker type setup, and I can't even remember why you were down there. You'd activated a switch or found an item. You turned round and there was just some dude watching you, and then he just stepped to one side into a little side passage and disappeared from view.
And you had to still go past.
You had to go past, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good example of that. What are we calling these horror games? We can't call them walking sims.
No, because they're not walking sims.
Hide 'em ups.
Hide 'em ups will do, yeah.
Creep 'em ups. Wuss 'em ups. Yeah. Skulk 'em up. Sorry,
not do a lot.
Yeah, move around very slowly.
But it didn't get very good reviews actually.
There was another thing as well, and I won't spoil any of the content, mainly because I can't really remember it that well. But there was some element of a plot and twists and so on. Slenderman himself makes a pretty terrifying appearance. But the very, very end of the game, when you'd completed it, where in fact you died, when you then tried to go on the game again, all it would show you was your camera, because the game was one of those viewed through your video camera type affairs. And it was just your camera pointing up into the sky because you were dead, so you couldn't play on it. You had to delete the game.
I like that sort of shit. Yeah.
No, just one thing I must remember to comment on. We talked about V8 pages.
Yeah.
Now, another one of the tropes of Slenderman that was, I think, popularised by Marble Hornets, and we'll explain in a minute what Marble Hornets is, was this idea that he could mind control people. So in Marble Hornets,
a bit like the Blair Witch.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe that's one of the sources.
But then it's a sort of timeless horror trope, isn't it?
Yeah, a being that can bend you to its will.
Yes, yeah.
So Marble Hornets is a series of YouTube videos about the Slender Man, which are really good and dead worth watching, in my opinion. Highly recommended. A bunch of young lads made it, low budget, and it's like good on you, because despite having, I don't know, one video camera between you and being about 18, you've made this compelling little piece of fiction, in my opinion. One of Slenderman's capabilities is to drive people to commit vile acts, and also to scribble down these messages and these sort of outpourings onto paper. Now, I know that's a bit of a trope, this idea of, I've used it in one of my books, this idea that you scribbling down these crazed outpourings and sticking them all over the wall, compulsively bedecking your room in all these disturbing images. Slenderman wasn't ever referred to as Slenderman directly in Marble Hornets stuff. He was referred to as the Operator.
Yeah.
And I really like that, this sort of sinister puppet master kind of figure.
Yeah.
He's got everyone scribbling weird shit and then going out to stab their best mates and put funny masks on and lurk around in abandoned buildings. I thought it was really
you like
cool.
that, do you?
I did, yes. So yeah, you can surmise that I enjoyed it.
But yeah, they did a really good job, and I think they've got over 500,000 subscribers, and they've contributed to this shared
mythos.
Yes,
yeah, I agree with that, and added components to his story, which have then been other people have then built on, and it's burgeoned into something bigger than it was before.
Yeah,
there was this other, and I forget,
in a very modern way as well, using YouTube and modern technology, and it's great stuff.
And there was a kind of not so much a spin-off, but a sort of a companion piece to Marble Hornets, where part of the story, it was one of those pieces of fiction where the existence of the material was explained in the fiction. So again, a bit like the Blair Witch, it's found footage from people who were trying to make a documentary. In Marble Hornets, it was a group of friends who were filming each other, but then there was someone else set up a different YouTube account and was posting almost these response videos, which I thought was very clever. And part of the mystery was, well, who is doing this and who is posting these videos in response to the original Marble Hornets material? To the Ark was the name of these other very, very surreal Lynchian odd, very peculiar little short pieces of almost like a kind of art film, like dark art stuff. But definitely worth a watch. I watched all of those, and I was I'm not sure. I think it was one of those things that fell foul of. You realise actually there was no point, and they were just making it up as they went along. But it was still enjoyable.
You were enjoying it while you were watching it, weren't you?
So we've touched on not just the video games, but then the YouTube fan-made materials.
I just want to say one more thing about the video games, however, is that my favourite Slenderman video game is Minecraft. And the Enderman in Minecraft actually weirdly quite creepy. I don't know, do you find that? Because when you get close, it's
properly creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy.
Big tall bloke who sort of appears at will and steals bits of your hard built building. And you stole the brick that was holding back the zombies, you bastard!
So
wreaking havoc from another dimension.
And that again just shows Minecraft have probably been overtaken by Fortnite now.
Yeah,
but,
all the young ones.
But one of the, if not the biggest, I need to check the stat there, but one of the biggest video games ever, and the Slenderman has its place in that, has influenced Minecraft in one, small way. So just goes to show
quite a big reach and legacy in some ways. Although again, feels he was very current at the time that Minecraft was rising to prominence.
Still big though. It is still big.
Minecraft is still big, and maybe therefore Slenderman still is big. But I still feel like he's on a kind of a downward slope.
No, I agree.
Maybe this is a good point to talk about one of the reasons why he might be on a downward slope.
Yes, yeah.
So,
well, there's a few reasons, and they kind of tie in together.
Yeah, they're all sort of associated. So
you begin with what you were going to say.
Well, let's jump straight to it. In 2014, there was a near-fatal stabbing of a young girl, a 12-year-old girl in, I don't know how to pronounce this, I apologise, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Her two friends, who were the same age, lured her out into the woods. They were friends, right? So they just arranged to go out into the woods. Yeah. Perhaps they weren't supposed to be because they're very young, but that's what they did. And they stabbed her 19 times.
Christ.
And left her for dead.
Yeah.
She crawled her way out to the road where she was picked up, thankfully, and then managed to recover.
Yes.
Mercifully recovered from her horrible injuries. And I've heard it said that one of the knife wounds missed a major artery in her heart by like a millimetre. Very, very close to being a terrible murder and clearly a terrible crime. The two girls who committed the offence was Anissa E. Wire and Morgan E. Gazer. Again, apologies if I've got the pronunciation wrong. The victim was a girl called Peyton Leutner. They told police that they had committed the crime to impress the Slenderman. Now, if you want to learn more about this, it might be worth watching Beware the Slenderman documentary that I think you can get on Netflix, YouTube.
I think it's on YouTube, yeah. It's a HBO documentary.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Netflix originally. I'm not sure if it's still on there. And it was pretty well made, pretty good. And it's more of a trying to examine the whole Slenderman myth, which I guess is what we're doing to an extent. And certainly focuses in as a central discussion point this crime that occurred and how strange it is that two young, from fairly the parents come across as very down to earth, reasonable people. It's not like they were any signs of these problems, but these girls, at least one of them, seemed pretty convinced of the Slenderman's existence and that she wanted to appease and had to commit this offence. I think the other one was sort of dragged along for the ride and persuaded. But there is a quote doing the rounds that I've seen where it's, we wanted to show all the doubters that Slenderman was real. So there's an important difference there between we were instructed to commit this crime by a fictional being that we hallucinated, which suggests extreme kind of mental illness, versus we were annoyed that people didn't believe he was real, so we wanted to prove it by stabbing our mate, which is a bit, again, mental illness in the sense that it seems
of course,
hard to relate to. But there's different degrees of culpability maybe there. And I think because of the law in Wisconsin, these girls have been tried as adults and sentenced to like 60 odd years in prison. So pretty stiff penalty for what they did. Now, an impact of that incident...
And this is what I was referring to.
Is that the pretty big budget Hollywood Slenderman movie that already felt like it was a couple of years too late, had to be severely edited because they didn't want to portray something too controversial and offensive in light of that tragedy.
In light of the tragedy,
And if you watch the film, which I did, it's the only time I've ever been ballsy enough to go to the cinema on my own.
Really?
A lot of people do it a lot. I'm too much of a wuss. I'm always like, oh, will you come with me? I need a friend. But literally no one else wanted to watch that film because they'd heard how shit it was. And they were right.
I mean, I wish I hadn't watched it. But, it was really shit, wasn't it?
It sucked. And I was like a big Slenderman fan at the time. But
I remember when you saw it, you were still having it that it was all right. It was all right.
I guess I think it had a couple of nice ideas and a few nice shots where there was like a...
And, you've been following the Slenderman phenomenon for years, so you probably felt a bit more invested in...
And I wanted it to be
good.
Interesting, but I was aware of what had happened and that it was...
It was edited because of what happened.
Correct.
And as a result... I mean, it may have been shit to begin with, but
true.
As a result, it
felt like a botched together mess of a film that barely made sense. Certainly wasn't
again,
scary.
It hasn't done the Slenderman any favours in terms of popularity and relevance and longevity.
It's a bit like, again, another topic we've covered already, which is my beloved Silent Hill franchise.
Yes.
Sadly, most people, because a lot of people are not gamers, they know things as... It's only when it hits the silver screen that they find out about it. So their knowledge of Silent Hill is based on the two ropey films.
Yeah, the first one's good.
The first one is good. The second one is a pile of shit.
Absolute dog shit.
So anyone who's only encountered the Slender Man through the movie will think, well, this is absolute garbage bollocks. And rightly so, because it was. So that seemed to spell the end, really. And it felt like, I don't know, it's just sort of dropped out of the public.
It has, hasn't it?
It's not cool anymore.
Nah. But maybe that's also the nature of the internet, isn't it? The sort of meme culture and...
So the very thing that gave birth to him has now choked and killed him, which is kind of appropriate in some ways.
Yeah.
Born and died on the internet. Slenderman, 2009 to 2019. 10 years old, and he's no more. So... we've probably covered a lot of the Slenderman stuff that exists. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other examples that are out there. There are other fan-made, prominent YouTube videos like Everyman Hybrid, which I think was about some sort of sports, like exercise video where he makes an unexpected and unwanted appearance. It sounds kind of funny.
It's quite funny. Yeah.
And Tribe 12 is the other, canonically, if that's the right word, famous, well-known one. But I still think Marble Hornets is the best one.
Yeah.
The one that is actually still worth your time, despite the fact that the Slender Man is a fading fictional force. And then I suppose the other incarnation is in a shitload of prank videos. So if you look up Slenderman on YouTube, you will find loads of people to varying degrees of quality and budget sort of blundering around and bumping into the Slenderman and screaming their heads off. As I speak, Liam has just Googled one. What's this one? Jalal's Slenderman prank. Go on, put the sound on.
They're in an elevator.
Let's put the sound on and we'll talk you through it. Lights have gone off in the elevator.
They've got a kid in there.
Oh, God!
They've left the kid.
the two adults who were with the kid ran off and left the kid behind.
Now they're in a parking lot.
I mean, he's clearly on stilts. It's pretty funny.
I think these
two grown men. You think?
The reactions are, right.
Yeah. It could be. That's the problem. You never know, do you? Yeah. You never know what's real. Oh, there it is. That's quite good.
They're in a toilet stall.
Well,
They're waiting
it's the
outside.
fact-
Somebody's
It's the
having
one
a
with
poo.
the one with
They're knocking
big,
on the door, the
Oh.
toilet stall.
big long arms and big. I reckon it's fake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of course the risk is if ever you were going to
Yeah.
perform one of these pranks, we've all seen that one where the guy pops out of the bin dressed as a gorilla and someone just punches him in the face in fright. So you're taking.
Well,
your life
remember
in your own
that
hands.
craze with the clowns, people dressing
Yeah.
up as killer clowns, and I'm surprised one of them didn't. Well, maybe they did, but absolutely battered.
I know. If you tried to pull that,
Especially in America where people carry guns.
yeah, or in Wigan where people carry like pies, you can just smash them into your face and no one's notice. What do they carry in Gloucester? Cider.
Yeah, what's that? Bottles of cider.
Bottles of cider. What is Gloucester famous for?
Dick Whittington, mate.
He's from Gloucester.
Dick Whittington, yeah.
But didn't he go to? Oh, but he went to London.
Just like me.
Wow, are you
I'm the mayor of London boy.
like a reincarnation? Yeah, I forgot you were you're taking over. From
What else?
Sadiq, aren't you?
We're cheese rolling.
Yeah,
And Fred West, the UK's
that's
one of the UK's biggest serial killers.
very very different things.
So,
there. Cheese rolling and Fred West, and they're famous for your catchphrase, which you're making famous through this very show.
Well, all I'll say is Fred West was a real baddie.
He was a baddie.
Baddie,
yeah.
So where does
Ugh.
Slenderman rank among the all-time baddies?
Well, you tell me, because I have finished, apart from the summary, which I will, if I may, have a crack at.
So we've discussed everything. We've covered the bases, yeah? We've talked about the Slenderman.
I think so.
Sum it up for me, brother.
I am going to... Liam has got his arm on my shoulder in a really disturbing but quite pleasant way.
And actually, my arms, I've been said to have freakishly long arms.
Hang on a minute. And you've got no face. And you're wearing a suit. And
Actually-
we're in the woods. No, I'll tell you where we are, actually, just as a quick aside. Normally we record this in my shithole of a flat. We're in Liam's.
That's really nice. Isn't it?
Liam's dead posh house.
It's not
Right.
yeah.
And what is a thing? When you Google how to record podcasts, because we, as you may have guessed, are by no means experts.
No.
All of the advice is around how you get a mic, I get a mic, because you're recording on Skype from different places. Maybe one of our USPs is we're both together physically, weirdly staring at each
I
other.
wish we weren't.
I'm sorry it has to be this way, because we can only afford one mic. That's why. So yeah, that's what you're getting, listeners.
Top
is
quality, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Mediocre, but at least it's in person.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Couch co-op.
Personal.
Couch co-op
Couch
podcasting.
co-op podcasting, I like that.
Jolly cooperation.
Yeah.
Little reference for
Yeah.
people like me that are only just playing Dark Souls for the first time. Anyway, back on topic.
Slenderman. Sum it up for me then.
He is a uniquely modern monster. He has been spawned by the collective consciousness of the internet, the hive mind of the World Wide Web, crawled out like a spider and haunted us for a decade before being suddenly and unexpectedly killed by his own far-reaching fame, driven by a real-life tragedy that has kind of turned everyone off him. And so he lived, now he's died. For the few years that we had him, he was a pretty big deal in online communities, even though the details were so paper thin. Maybe that was part of the compelling aspect. He touches on some really modern concerns: paranoia, surveillance culture, corporate menace,
Pedos.
paedophilia. Yeah, obviously a laughing matter. I just cracks up laughing about it. That's wow, definitely going to edit that out.
Jesus.
Oh God.
You know how we used to do this in person? Used to. That's
I'll get me count.
okay,
So I think for that reason, even if the films are all shit, the games are a bit brief and repetitive, and ultimately he hasn't stood up to the test of time and to intense scrutiny. There's not actually a lot of substance there. I feel he deserves a place in the Hall of Pain. Thank you. I thought you're like a Pavlovian weirdo. I feel like he merits a place because he is a uniquely 21st century monster.
Now, you know how difficult it is to get into this Hall of Pain.
I mean, just ask. Oh wait,
no
one has failed yet.
Now, I'm telling you this. This is close. I'm leaning one way, I'm leaning the other.
I mean, I'm not trying to alarm you, but there's like a tall,
God.
bald bloke over there who looks a bit pissed off.
That's my reflection.
Hey!
No, let me tell you, when we decided we were going to talk about Slenderman, I thought this is going to be the first one that doesn't make it. However, I think for the impact it had, the way it was born, the fact that it, like I said, belonged to everybody, you and I included, I think its roots, its very roots alone, I think it does deserve a place in the Hall of Pain. As bad as the movie was, that aside, I do think that it
merits a place.
I think it merits a place
in the annals of history.
In the Hall of Pain.
An odd, weird, not quite easy to put your finger on.
Because I do think it's... the main thing is, I do think it's genuinely quite a creepy thing. I think
he's a creepy character.
It's a creepy character.
If you were going on a night out and forget a fancy dress party. If you went on a night out and you saw a 10-foot tall thin bloke standing in the distance staring at you, it would freak you out.
I think it draws on all those classic fears, like I said, the folklore, often used to scare and warn children. That side of it, very creepy, looks creepy, and yet a very modern construct. So I think it does deserve a place. Film aside, I think it was close, but let's officially welcome
the Slender Man
into I'll Leave It to You.
I'm going to try a different one. Okay. Different. I don't even know what I'm going to try. It's just going to come out organically, okay? You ready for this?
Go for it. The Hall of Pain!
Well, I was trying something different.
I appreciate it. Don't worry, you'll never hear either of those again.
Nope.
So well done, Slenderman.
Just like you'll never hear the Slenderman again.
Exactly.
He's fucking dead.
He's dead and buried. Punk.
Long arm freak.
Well, you made it in, mate.
Well done.
Well done, lad. Can I take this morph suit off now?
Yeah.
It's really hot.
Shake me hand from all the way over the other side of the room.
But you're 20 feet away. Oh, Slenderman, you old scamp. Right, well, we'll bugger off and leave you all in peace. Try not to have too many nightmares, and you do that like a little cackle under it while I waffle on for a bit.
Yep,
that's just your normal breath. Yes, thank you for listening, everyone, and we will see you again soon. Maybe see you again. But make sure we're not there watching in the background.
I don't get it.
I was trying to play that we're the Slender Man and we're going to observe from a distance. It didn't really work, did it? Because we're not. Please don't worry. We're not going to come and spy on you. I can almost go. I mean, I don't know what you get up to in your spare time. You ever spied on anything?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know where this is going.
Do you think we should look up how to end a show?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I tend to find this, like I go on just for a bit. It's a bit like you put the phone down and you put the phone down. Maybe we could just cut it dead. Like cut that. It dead, But I don't want to, that seems a bit rude.
Just
Slenderman's career.
Piss off. Stop.
Shut up. Bye.
Bye.
Aha! Thank you, listeners, for joining us for another chilling instalment of Dark Natter. If you enjoyed the show, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a positive review. While if you hated it, please feel free to send us a torrent of abuse at darknatterpodcast@gmail.com, on Instagram @darknatterpodcast, or on Twitter @dark_natter. We'd love to hear your suggestions for future entries into the Hall of Pain. The Hall of Pain? The Hall of Pain.
Please also check out our YouTube channel, Dark Natter, where you'll find Liam and me embarrassing ourselves trying to sound hard while playing through terrifying video games like Slender: The Arrival in honour of today's episode. And in a final shameless plug, please check out www.jon-richter.com, where you'll find my assorted works of fiction, including my new short story collection, Jon Richter's Disturbing Works, Volume 2, available to pre-order now on Amazon in paperback or for your e-reader device. Finally, as always, I'd like to thank Ross Budgen for the brilliant theme music you are currently hearing, and thank you all once again for listening. Until next time.
It had... No, I'm dead at that guy. It was a good game.
We should do an outtakes bit.
Yeah.
A really shit outtakes bit where we beat ourselves up and our self-esteem deteriorates.